Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of In the Spotlight. I'm Mike Kenichi, and I'm on here today because we have a standout athlete from the town of Derby, and we are delighted to have him here, and that is Jeff Polis. And Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it a ton.
So, Jeff, let me ask you first off, how did the love for football begin for you?
Well, growing up, I was kind of always a baseball kid. I loved baseball a lot more than I loved football.
Right.
Then my junior year came along, and I ended up having a pretty good year without being 100% like into it. So I decided, halfway through, I was like, I actually really enjoy football, and I ended up, over the quarantine and after that year, putting in a lot of work and becoming in love with the sport.
Right. Now, let me ask you, did you play Pop Warner as a kid?
Yeah, I started playing Pop Warner in like third grade, fourth grade.
Right. And let me ask you, Jeff, a lot of people will say that Pop Warner is a very important part of football for a kid because basically they're teaching you all the basics, how to tackle, how to block, stuff like that. Would you say Pop Warner was very beneficial to you as a kid?
Yeah, Pop Warner, like you said, the fundamentals obviously, but also the group you play with typically is a group you go play with in high school. So when you have the same group of kids from elementary school to high school, I think it's really important because you build team chemistry and you form a brotherhood at a young age.
Right. Now let me ask you, did you play multiple positions in Pop Warner, or was there like one position that you focused on?
Yeah, so I was a little chubby when I was a little kid, so I used to play lineman, and then my last year I ended up moving to running back, where I ended up staying throughout high school, and then I played linebacker always. That's always been my position. So
Right.
a little bit of change, but not too much.
Right. Now, I would assume that you played a good amount of football with, your friends, Jimmy Silkoff, Bryce Cotter, guys like that. I'm sure you played with them throughout Pop Warner on to
Yeah.
high school, right?
Yeah, Pop Warner, like you said, every Saturday we'd be at the field, and we'd play during the week in my front yard, at Jimmy Sokoff's house. So
Right.
that's all we used to do.
And Jimmy's father, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, he was one of your coaches one year, correct?
Yeah, he coached baseball, he coached football, he did it all.
Right. Now, who were some of the coaches you had in Pop Warner? I believe you had Mark Saros one year, correct?
Yeah, I had Coach Ralph.
Right.
My last year when we actually ended up being pretty good, Rob Hyder was one of my coaches.
Right.
So yeah, I had a lot of good coaches throughout Pop Warner, a lot of different coaches, but a lot of good coaches.
Right. Now, let me ask you, Derby's always had a tradition in football. Did your family grow up in Derby? Are they from Derby?
No, my whole family's from Ansonia. They're all Ansonia people.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm the one lone Raider here.
Right. So let me ask you, did your mother and father have a tough time adjusting to that Derby jersey?
My dad always says it pained him to wear red. I think he came around to it now, but I know when we first moved, he said he had a hard time putting on the red shirt.
Right. So let me ask you, do you remember the first Derby Ansonia game you ever attended, or?
I remember. I want to say I remember. I think I went the year when Montreal Dobbs was a senior.
Right.
I think I remember that year when I'm pretty sure it was a low-scoring game. But I do remember always coming to the games from Pop Warner practice, walking down the hill.
Right. So now let's switch over to baseball real quick, and we'll get back to football. But
yep.
How you said you were always a baseball guy. When would you say was the first time you started playing baseball, organized baseball?
Well, I played Little League. That was like the first sport I played. I used to play soccer in Little League before I started playing football. Right. So I grew up playing Little League all the time. And then around like middle school, maybe fifth grade is when I started to play travel and Little League and the low to middle school, all that. That's when I started playing a lot of baseball.
Right. Now, in high school, you've played all over at times. You've even pitched, you've played the infield, you played the outfield at times. But let me ask you, what position do you prefer out of all of them if you had to pick one?
So I was always a middle infielder. I played second base my sophomore year for 20 games, and I thought that's what I liked. But playing this year, playing some center field, it was a lot of fun being in the middle of the field, being able to run around, go dive for balls. So if you asked me this question a couple months ago, I would say middle infield, but playing in center field is pretty fun.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but I think you were a pitcher this year more out of a necessity because, the team was kind of small this year. But let me ask you, did you pitch at all in Little League or Babe Ruth? And do you like pitching?
Yeah, I pitched a little bit. I mean, I was never a guy who's going to go out there and dominate pitching, but, if you need someone to come in and throw some strikes, I was able to do it. But, yeah, I pitched a little bit before, not as much as I did this year, but I used to come out of the bullpen more often. But this is the first year I actually would start games pitching.
Right. Now, you talked about the travel. You started playing travel in 5th grade. And I believe that's where, yourself, Jake Cook, Bryce Cotter, and Jimmy Silkoff, the 4 seniors now, you guys all started playing travel. What team did you play for the first time?
The Mudcats out of Seymour.
Right. And you guys, would you say that really helped, your game a lot better as time went on? Because travel, I think, is an important part of a kid's development. Feeder programs like that really do help a lot.
Yeah, travel was a huge part. It was obviously you see a lot of different kids throw a little harder, hit the ball a little harder. So it's good, see what it's like outside of, the little circle you're in when you're playing Little League. And along with that, it was also nice, when I played travel, I met some guys from out of town that I'm still friends with today. When I played Mudcats, Brendan Palmer from Ansonia was on my team.
Right.
That's a guy who's been my friend since. So, you make those friendships with kids around the Valley.
Right. And, that you talked about that, Brendan Palmer and the people from Ansonia. And even though you guys have a rivalry with them, you guys respect each other, and you guys kind of bring out the best in one another, because you guys played together, you played against each other. And I think it just makes you guys, competing against one another makes you guys a lot better.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial for everyone involved.
Right. So let me ask you this, Jeff. You played football, you played Pop Warner, but you love baseball. Would you play fall baseball as well, even though football was going on, or would you just not play any baseball during the fall?
No, that was usually when I would stop playing. So, yeah, I would play Pop Warner, be fully into it, and then when the winter would come around, I'd go in the cages and, I played basketball here and there, but never as much as football and baseball.
Right. So let's talk a little more about baseball. I believe you played for the middle school team as well.
Yeah.
Right. And just talk about that a little bit, because now you're facing, different towns, which you're used to in travel, but you're also playing teams that you're probably going to play in high school. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So middle school, we did play a lot of the Waterbury schools, which we play now. And, we honestly, it was a good experience. Like I said, that was the first time, being out of the Valley. So it was a good experience. Like I said, some of those guys I'm still friends with to this day. And that's when our friendship started in middle school.
Right. Now, did you play for Coach Bobby Cal, or who was your middle school coach?
No, Coach Kreiness was my coach. I think the year before I got there was his last year, Bobby Kreiness.
Right. So now let's talk a little bit about high school. Obviously, no freshman football team when you got there in 2017. So, you were right on the, varsity, junior varsity. First off, just talk about, what that experience was like, and also talk about, playing for Coach French.
Yeah. So when I was my first year, like I said, when we got there, we had a Froshmore, which is essentially right. JV. But yeah, so it was actually really fun being underclassmen because my freshman year I'd go play special teams on Friday night and not really have much of a worry, and then think about Saturday morning waking up and going to play JV. So yeah, it was good playing for Coach French. And Coach French, following along on that, Coach French was an awesome coach to play for. He really made sure to have a connection with us, and he really helped me a lot getting recruited to go play in college.
Right.
So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about Coach French.
Right. So talk about that freshman year as far as did you play different positions? Because I know on the varsity you definitely did, and we'll get to that in a minute. But freshman year, when you played JV and stuff, did you play both ways or did you play one way? How did freshman year go for you?
Yeah, so freshman year we were not really. We had some good numbers, but we had guys moving a lot of places. So I played quarterback at some points, played running back, linebacker, cornerback. So it was kind of all over the place. But yeah, I mostly stayed at running back and linebacker, but I did play quarterback against Shellen funny.
Right. So talk about quarterback a little bit, because, a lot of people I talk to, the one thing they say is, when you're going good and you're doing good, quarterback is fun. But a lot of them will say it's a lot of pressure sometimes, because you got to remember everybody's, what they're doing, linemen, the running backs and stuff. You have to be on cue. Did you feel a lot of pressure when you played it?
Yeah, the worst is when you're trying to get the play and you got guys tapping your shoulder, asking you where they need to go.
Right.
So, what you got to do, you kind of got to just take a breath and, address everything one-on-one. That's what I tried to do that game when I was playing quarterback. Go from here to here to here.
Right. Now, let me ask you, do you have do you like playing offense better or defense better?
I love playing defense.
Right.
I mean, offense is fun. Scoring touchdowns, running the ball is fun, but I'm a big fan of laying the wood and hitting. So I'm a defensive guy, I would say.
Right. Now, your sophomore year, two coaches, well, they actually they had been there for a long time, then they left for a while and they returned to the program. And that was Coach John DeFrancisco and former Derby head coach Charlie DeCenzo, who ran the offense. Just talk about those two a little bit. And it had to be cool to kind of learn from them with all the years of experience, and they had success as well.
No, yeah. So sophomore year, halfway through the year, I was put on the starting offense and defense. So it was, learning from Coach DeCenzo. When I got in there, I knew it was like, you can't mess around. You can't really, he always will find the next guy if you make a mistake. So he was always approachable to ask questions. So it was nice playing for him. But, I knew when I was in there, had to go 100% effort or he'll find the next man. And then Coach DeFrancisco, he's the man. He always laughing, always having fun.
Yeah.
But, when it's time to, strap on and be serious, he was always there yelling and making sure we were working hard. So it was a lot of fun playing for Coach DeFrancisco.
Right. Now, everybody I talked to, and of course I had Coach D as a coach as well, so I could kind of relate. But anytime I talk to somebody, they always have a good Coach D story. Do you have any good Coach D stories that you could share?
Yeah, so we were playing Crosby, and I don't know what the band's name is, but it had Crosby in it, and he kept repeating the band's name to everybody. Like, there was this really long name with Crosby in it of an old band, and he just kept saying it all week, and everyone was kind of like, what is he talking about? So we ended up asking him at the end of the week, and he went on for like 20 minutes talking about this band.
Right.
And like I said, the whole week, everyone was wondering what he was talking about.
Right. And, your sophomore year, Jeff, you guys kind of started off slow. I think you were maybe 1-4, but then the team picked it up, and I want to say they won 3 out of their last 5. So they really ended the season well. Let me ask you, Jeff, what do you think the toughest part is? Why do you think, do you think it's just not having enough kids out that Derby at times struggles? What do you think? Why do you think Derby has it harder than most schools?
Yeah, I think the kids thing is a little bit of a problem. Like I said, you got guys going both ways, and when it's halftime, you're dying on the locker room floor trying to catch your breath, and you got 2 more quarters to play. It gets tough. Little things like being subbed out for a couple plays on special teams, and taking a blow on offense. It goes a long way, and I think when the fourth quarter comes around, despite all the conditioning we do and stuff, it's hard to play 110% when you just played 3 quarters every single snap. So I think we had a lot of guys doing that, and eventually towards the end of the season and stuff, that really starts to add up.
Right. And it's a long season as well, Jeff, because if you think about it, I mean, football has become year round anyway now with weightlifting and conditioning. But when you start that 3rd week of August, you're pretty much there till the end of Thanksgiving. So it's a lot of commitment. What is it about the sport that Jeff Polis says, I'm going to give 100% to it every day? What drives you every day to, give your best to it?
I think I like it because, a lot of the time it's kind of you versus yourself.
Right.
I like being self-motivated. I consider myself a self-motivated person. So, when you're running those sprints, it's really, if you don't run the sprints hard, the only person you're hurting is you. So I enjoy that aspect of things, trying to work hard and compete against myself. And, I enjoy that about football a lot.
Right. Now, Jeff, your junior year to me was the team I know only won 2 games that year, but you had a tremendous season. If I'm not mistaken, I think you had 80 tackles, which, might have been the best on the team, or at least the second best. And what Coach French always said was, you were the type of guy that would do anything to help the team. If he, like you said, put you at quarterback, you'd play there. If he said linebacker, you'd play there, running back. It didn't matter where. But just talk about your junior season, because although the record wasn't great, you had to be satisfied with how you performed that year.
Yeah, so, like I said, junior year was that was one of my favorite years. We were derailed with injuries and, things didn't go as planned. But for me, I had a really good year. And that's, like I said, that's when I really started to, think, maybe I should take this serious. So, yeah, junior year was tons of fun, played a lot of positions, thankfully I got to touch the ball a lot, was kind of the centerpiece of the offense and defense. So it was very beneficial for me. And like I said, it was a ton of fun.
Right. And, Jeff, I look at the Thanksgiving game, and granted, I think Shelton won 33-0 that day, but you guys really played them tough early on. I mean, the defense really came out to play. They were playing with their hearts out there. I mean, just talk about that game, because even though, it was a loss, you played a very good team, a double L school, and you guys really held your own for a while.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys in there who really didn't play a lot. Like I said, we lost a ton of seniors, a ton of juniors to injury. So, for what we had out there, we were doing everything we were asked to do. We were following Coach French's game plan, and it worked at some points, But like I said, when you don't have your full team in there, it's tough to compete for 4 quarters. So, after a while, guys start to get a little confused when things change and matchups change. But yeah, for the most part, we played as hard as we could. I mean,
right.
Can't be mad at that.
And, Jeff, a personal highlight for you after that season was you were selected to the All-NVL Copper Division team. I know you play the game without thinking about accomplishments and stuff. You just enjoy playing the game. But the 16-year-old kid in you had to be thrilled when Coach French told you that you were selected.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was really exciting. I didn't really I did expect to get something. I was hoping to get something. But, when you actually get the call that you get something like that, it's pretty cool, especially because, most of those awards are given to seniors. And There's very few juniors there, underclassmen there. It was cool to be recognized. And, as one of the few juniors who were even there. So it was a really cool experience. It was really rewarding.
Right. And, Jeff, one thing I forgot to mention, you guys won 2 games that year. But I really believe, and this hurt you guys your junior year and also your sophomore year. Your sophomore year, you lose Thomas Abel, who was a tremendous player. And I have to believe if Tom Abel plays, you guys win 6 or 7 games that year.
Yeah.
And then losing Zarion Montgomery your junior year, that really hurt the team too, because that kid could do everything. And I really believe, you guys probably win a few more games if those 2 guys don't get hurt.
Yeah, that was our thing. You lose your 2 best running backs 2 years in a row, those guys are going to give you at least 3 more wins by themselves. So that was, they also had a running joke this year because I was a running back that I was next in line to get hurt.
Right. And, that's not easy to stay healthy. I mean, practice, I'm sure you guys had to adjust to practice. You probably couldn't do as much hitting as probably Coach French would have liked because, he couldn't afford to lose any more players.
Yeah, my freshman year, we would hit every single day. And then, my junior year, with the lack of guys, it was not a lot of hitting, not a lot of live compared to when, it was underclassmen. Right.
Now, Jeff, Coach French decided to step down as head coach after the season ended. And, I know you play for Coach Boehner in baseball, so you knew who he was and you have a good relationship with him. But was there some sadness because you had played for Coach French and you really looked up to him? I mean, it had to be bittersweet when he stepped down.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Coach French, like I said, he was helping me a ton. Even after he stepped down, he was helping me a ton with recruiting. So when Coach French left, it sucked. I mean, what are you going to do? But, we wished him nothing but the best. And we knew he was going to support us from a distance. So,
right.
Like I said, it was bittersweet, like you said.
Right. Now, Jeff, one of the things that will always bother me, and I'm, sure it'll bother a lot of people, is you guys did not get a senior season of football. And, I mean, any way you look at it, you guys were cheated. Just talk about how disappointing was that for you? And, I'm sure you understood it, but at the same time, you had to be a little bitter about it.
Oh, yeah, I think we were very bitter. This year, we kind of felt like was the year. This year, in particular and my sophomore year, those were the 2 years where we thought we really had the chance to, finally come around and win some games.
Right.
This year we had a very senior heavy team. I think we had like 33 guys, and we had 17, 18 seniors, guys who played varsity before, guys who were good athletes. So I think we kind of thought this year was going to be the year, but not playing kind of derailed that. So yeah, it was tough. It was a tough couple of weeks, especially seeing other states playing and stuff. So
Right.
yeah.
Now, did you guys do the 7-on-7 thing at all, or?
So myself and like 4 other seniors, we went to go play in the independent league up in Woodland. So we only played 2 7-on-7 games, which we played in. And so we also played the independent league at the same time.
Right. And it's obviously not the same, but at least you got something out of it, but definitely, not what you would have hoped for.
No, yeah, for sure. But, the 7-on-7, it kind of showed we were a pretty legit team. I mean, we beat up on Seymour, then we played Shelton, and we lost by a touchdown. Not even.
Right.
We lost 38-37. So, you're not in pads, getting a glimpse of what we could have been, that sucked, not, playing that well and knowing that we weren't able to do it in pads.
Right. Now let's get back to your baseball career a little bit. Now, was there a freshman team your freshman year, or again, was the case where you played JV again?
Yeah, it was JV, and then some of the JV guys would go shoot up for the varsity team.
Right. And now I believe you had Coach Boehner. I'm trying to remember who his assistants were, but it was a pretty decent staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baker, he's a guidance counselor there, and
right.
Yeah, so it was a pretty decent stuff.
Right. So let me ask you, what position did you start off as your freshman year?
So my freshman year, I was playing a lot of third base. So that was really where I was playing. I mean, wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I always had a pretty strong arm. So I ended up, finding myself on the corner of the diamond all the time.
Right. Now you and, like I said, Bryce Cotter, Jake Cook, Jimmy Sokoff, you guys have, been friends forever. You've played together for a long time. You guys, like a same class for years. Just talk about, would you guys kind of pick each other up when somebody was having a bad game? If Bryce, had a rough game on the mound, would you guys be there to pick each other up?
Yeah, I think especially me, Bryce and I, whenever we would make a mistake, we would, pick each other up. We'd also make fun of each other a little bit, but it was always, when you're down, I'll pick you up. When you're down, I'll pick you up kind of thing. And that kind of carried on to, like I said, going back to football real quick, it carried on to football and baseball. I always looked to Bryce when he was down, like, I got you. And when I was down, Bryce, would tell me he's got me. So it ended up, being really nice to have someone right by the side of you doing that for you.
Right. And one of the things about Bryce, too, he did a very good job at quarterback. I mean, he's not the tallest kid in the world, but he really, played that position well for you guys, especially I think when Zerion went out, Bryce knew he was going to have to be in there most of the time, and he really stepped up for you guys.
Yeah, Bryce stepped up for sure. Bryce stepped up every time he's been asked in any sport.
Right. So now, I believe your sophomore year, you guys came close to the tournament. You might have missed it by 1 or 2 games, but you had a big win against Ansonia. I think up in Ansonia. Maybe Derby. I can't remember.
We were at Naugatuck.
Naugatuck, that's right.
Yeah,
you guys didn't have a field. And just talk to me about that, Jeff, because that's another thing that you guys had to do for 2 years, both football and baseball. You guys didn't even have a field to play on.
So you want us to talk about the field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the field thing. I mean, it was pain. It was like sometimes home games weren't home games because Naugatuck was closer for Naugatuck, and it was closer for them. So, we'd have to get on the bus after a home game. It wasn't a good feeling, This year having the home games, it was nice to, you leave right from there and you go home and you're home in 5 minutes. When you go to Naugatuck, it's a 20-minute bus ride back. You got to go home, get in the locker room, drive home. So it wouldn't feel like a home game when we would play at Naugatuck. For sure.
Right. And you guys also had to practice at Bradley School. Am I correct on that? Yeah. And that's not like the best field. So, you guys went through a lot. I think that probably could, contributed in some of the losses because you guys never really had that true field to practice on or, to play games on. So that's very difficult in both sports. You guys had to do that. And that's not easy to do.
Yeah, you don't get all your fans there. You got to pile kids up in cars to try to get across town for practice. So yeah, it was fatiguing.
Right. So now I really believe, Jeff, you talked about the football team, but I really believe your junior year of baseball, you guys would have had a shot at the tournament. You guys had a lot of guys coming back. And then again, you guys got shut down. Let me ask you, did you think that as time went on, there wasn't going to be a season, or did you still hold out hope that you guys would somehow get a season in?
So the first week or two, it got canceled. I thought there's a chance we were gonna get pushed back and kind of play into the summer.
Right.
Not knowing much about the virus. And then, after probably 2-3 weeks, I was kind of like, yeah, this is probably not happening. And,
Right.
which I said, which is very unfortunate because we were pretty senior heavy that year with Bryce and I being the underclassmen coming back as starters. So we were very junior, senior heavy that year. And I think we could have, like I said, made a run that year.
Right. And were you guys able to play Legion that summer at least, or some type of summer ball?
I didn't. That's like you said. This is when I kind of flipped the switch on the football. But I know, like guys like Ty Neto and Bryce, they played a little bit of ball during the summer.
Right. So, Jeff, talk to me about, before we get like into the games and stuff. Just talk to me about this senior season, and you mentioned playing on the new field, but just talk about that experience. Talk about the senior day against Ansonia. Just talk about like how that was for you guys to finally be on a brand new field.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good, finally getting that feeling, as a senior too, which made it feel a lot better. We always would preach to the younger guys, like, you kind of got to enjoy it because it flies by, and, to have
Right.
what we didn't get to have, it's a good feeling. So while I was there, I was trying to enjoy every moment, try to stay positive and think positive because, like I said, in the blink of an eye, it was over.
Right. Another highlight for you, Jeff, is you were elected captain along with Bryce and Jimmy Silkoff. I don't care, you're a great player, but still, you always want to be respected by your teammates and coaches. So that had to be a great feeling for you to be selected as one of the tri-captains.
Yeah, it was a really good feeling. I was running track in the winter, so I wasn't around a lot for the hitting in the cages in the winter and stuff. So to come back and kind of be slid into the captain role was a really good feeling, and felt really respected by the coaching staff and my teammates.
Right. And Jeff, you guys had a first year coach, and it's always hard for a new coach to come in because he's got to like set a precedent right away. And one of the things that I think Coach Swerb appreciated about you and his other seniors is you guys right away showed your leadership and made sure that the other players understood he's the coach, and this is what we're going to do, this and that. And I think that was big for him because he really needed you to also be a coach on the field as well.
Yeah, I think our senior class did a great job of that. Like I said, it's not easy for anybody coming in a new situation, but Coach Swerb, he got a good grip on us, the seniors, and we knew he needed us and we needed him. So we ended up working together, and hopefully we set the building blocks for the program for the next couple of years.
Right. And, Jeff, I know the record wasn't great. I think you guys might have won 2 or 3 games, but there were some games you were really competitive. You guys almost knocked off Ansonia. The first time, I think they beat you 7-2. And then the next time it was a 1-0 game. It was, a well-pitched game by both Palmer and Cotter, and you made some nice plays in the field. So, I mean, you guys had to be proud with the fact that it seemed like you were getting better as the season went on.
Yeah, I mean, the best part about it was we were staying competitive, and getting mercied every game isn't a fun feeling. So
Right.
we stayed competitive. We played a lot of good teams close, and you can't ask for anything better than that.
Right.
Being competitive.
Right. Now let me ask you this, Jeff. Coach Steve Riley came back to the program. He coached Derby when they won that state title in 1992. He was one of the assistants. He works a lot with different things. He'll work with the outfielders, he'll work with the pitchers. But just talk about, how beneficial it was for you to have him on the staff.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Riley's the definition of a baseball guy. He's always got some gadget, trying to work on a new part of the swing. So Coach Riley's he was a good addition to the team. He always had new drills for us and was always, can correct the swing just like this. During halfway through the year, I started to struggle and was hitting a lot of ground balls to third. We made a little adjustment with my hands, and I started driving the ball. So Coach Rouse,
Right.
Like I said, he was a really good addition to the team, and he knows what he's talking about.
Right. And the other coach was the junior varsity coach, and that was Coach Sal Frascino, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a Derby guy. He had a good career at Derby. Just talk about him a little bit and how cool it was to have him on the staff.
Yeah, it was good having a guy who's went through it. I mean, no one you could relate more to Sal. Sal went through Derby. Sal was also he's a good players coach. He knew when one of us was getting frustrated to come over and talk. Like I said, it's good to hear from someone who's went through what you're going through. So, like I said, Coach Sal's a good dude, and it was a lot of fun playing for him.
Right. And Jeff, you did something, unique that, you should be very proud of as well. I mentioned you made all copper in football. Well, you also made the all copper division in baseball. So, I mean, to do that in two different sports is pretty impressive. And again, it had to make you feel good. And just talk about, when Coach Swerve gave you the news that you were selected.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like I said, it's hard to, when you don't win a lot of games, the accolades, it's hard to get. So to get recognized for one, it was pretty cool feeling. Like I said, getting that call, it kind of reminded me of when I got the call my junior year. So
Right.
I was pretty grateful, and I was really excited, honestly.
Right. Jeff, I mentioned, Bryce, Jake, and Jimmy. Just talk about some other teammates through the years that you've played with that have, really impacted you, both professionally and personally.
One kid I would say really impacted me would be Zoran Montgomery in my grade. Me and Zoran, we didn't get to play together because our sophomore year we got to play together at the tail end of it, and that's when I was playing wing and he was playing quarterback. So we were waiting for junior year to come out and play together. Felt like that was the year. Unfortunately, Zoran got hurt. So then senior year, it felt like me and him, we always go to the field together, work out together. We felt like it was him and I, we were going to, kind of do our thing our senior year. And, not being able to play, it hurt both of us because both of us knew how much work we would put in. Over quarantine, we go to the field, send each other videos of us working out. And, that was a kid who always pushed me. And I always wanted to, work harder than him. But at the end of the day, that was my brother. And we would always build each other up. And, not being able to, showcase what we worked for this fall hurt. But, it was good. Zoran is probably a lifelong friend of mine now.
Right. Now, Jeff, it's kind of funny how things work out. You always said how you were a baseball guy, throughout Little League, Babe Ruth and stuff. But now you're going to continue playing sports in college, but it's not going to be baseball. It's actually going to be football. So talk about that a little bit. Where are you attending in the fall? And just tell us a little bit about that.
So this fall, I'm attending Western New England up in Springfield, Massachusetts. And like I said, after my junior year, having a pretty good year, Coach French kind of pushed my film out and contact information to a bunch of schools. I was getting a lot of texts from a lot of different schools, and Western New England was one of the first schools that ever reached out to me. So throughout quarantine, it was all the recruiting rules were really, messed up. You could talk to the kid, then you couldn't. So a lot of schools were inconsistent and then inconsistent. So it was back and forth of, texting me every day, calling me, and then they stopped for a little bit. But Western New England was the one school that, stayed consistent throughout the whole thing. And then the day my season got canceled, the coach called me and, he just asked me how I was doing, blah, blah, blah. And then he asked me to come up for a visit. And me going up for the visit, me getting the offer to go up there. And, that made me feel like home. He took time out of his day from his personal life to call me and, ask me how I was doing and invite me up to campus.
Right. So you must be pretty excited about, the fall and, you're going to continue your football career. That has to be great. And I'm sure, it's going to be a challenge, but I think you're pretty open to that challenge.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've already met some of the guys going up there this fall. So I'm excited to get up there, work hard, and, win some games.
Right. And, Jeff, you're going to graduate in probably a couple of weeks. So just let me ask you, is it hard to believe it went by so quick? And, it's always a little sadness when, you've been friends with these guys for so long, and now you're going to kind of separate a little bit. You'll still keep in touch and stuff, but, you're not going to see them every day like you normally do. Talk about, graduating and, how that feels.
Yeah, it's really bittersweet, honestly. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to be done. Like, I'm ready to move on to the next chapter of my life. And there's other days I sit there and I'm like, man, like, I can't believe the Derby High School is going to go on without me next year. So, bittersweet, this is pretty much the definition of it. Like I said, graduation, it'll be a good feeling. It'll also be a little sad, but, I think I'm excited and I think I'm ready. And, I'll forever be a part here. Hopefully one day come back and, to Derby and, yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. What does Derby mean to you? You know, I mean, obviously you grew up here, but what does it really mean to you as far as the town and sports go?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a second home. I spent hours on end at the Little League field when I was young,
Right.
Pop Warner Field. You know, my parents made friends that'll be friends with them for the rest of their lives. You know, we've been big part of the community, you know, coaching, playing for the last couple of years. So, you know,
Right.
coming home, you know, I know pretty much everyone in this town, and, you know, it's just a good feeling, you know, knowing you can come back somewhere and, you know, have so much acceptance and such a nice little tight knit community to come back to.
Right. And finally, Jeff, before we go, just if you could give advice to, you know, a kid who was in the same boat as you, who's like 11 or 12 years old, wants to do good at sports, you know, whatever it might be, soccer, baseball, softball, whatever it may be, what advice would you give to them?
I think two things. I think one thing that, you know, it sounds cliche and everyone says it, but grades are so important. You know,
Right.
I know people who, you know, have a hard time with getting recruited because of grades. And I know people because of their grades who are, you know, have more opportunities. So, you know, from the minute you step in the classroom, you got to realize that, you know, it goes a long way. And along with that, it builds work ethic and, you know, it sets good habits in your life. And another thing is, like I said, it flies by in the quick, like in a blink of an eye, snap of a finger. You can't take it for granted because, you know, like I said, from someone who actually lost, you know, their junior year baseball, senior year football,
Right.
it could be taken away from you just like that. So, you know, you got to enjoy those little moments. And, you know, on the hard days, you got to realize that better days are ahead. And, you know, things aren't that bad when you're out there.
Right. Well, Jeff, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on. I think you're a great kid and obviously a great athlete. And I know you're going to do great at Western. And I wish you the best of luck and congratulations on a great career.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
No problem. So there you have it, folks. You know, Jeff Polis, from the time he was probably 7 years old, he was involved in some type of sport. That is carried over to high school, and now he's taken it to the next level in college. The thing about Jeff Polis that's very impressive is he always talks about his teammates, his coaches, and the impact they had on him. You heard him mention about Coach French, Coach Boehner, Coach Riles, Coach Swerve, and how each one of them helped him in some way. Jeff Polis is always about the team first and himself second. It's no surprise that he made all copper for both football and baseball, but he did it because he's willing to be unselfish and do whatever is best for the team. There is no doubt in my mind and everybody else's who knows Jeff that he is going to do the same exact thing, not only in college, but in life. That's just the type of person he is. For In the Spotlight, I'm Mike Kenichi saying goodbye, everyone.